The year was 3024. Earth, the cradle of humanity, had become a distant memory for most. It was still there, of course, a blue and green gem spinning in the void, but it no longer bore the weight of humanity's ambitions. 1,000 years of relentless progress had transformed the species from fragile creatures bound to a single planet into an interstellar force capable of reshaping entire worlds. The stars were no longer distant pinpricks of light. They were destinations, challenges to be overcome, and resources to be claimed. The turning point had come centuries earlier, with the advent of the quantum singularity drive, a technological marvel that allowed ships to fold space itself, leaping across light years in mere moments. With it came the Great Expansion, a period when humanity spread like wildfire through the galaxy. At first, it was slow, tentative steps to nearby systems, cautious probes into alien environments. But as technology advanced and ambition grew bolder, humanity's reach extended farther and farther until even the most distant corners of the Milky Way were within grasp. Earth became a hub of governance and culture, but the real work happened elsewhere. Mars was terraformed into a sprawling industrial powerhouse. Europa's icy crust was cracked open to reveal oceans teeming with engineered life. Dyson swarms encircled Sol and other stars, harvesting energy on a scale once thought impossible. The human population exploded into trillions, scattered across countless colonies and habitats. Yet for all this progress, one thing remained constant: humanity's insatiable hunger for more. It wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about dominance. The galaxy was vast and filled with planets ripe for exploitation. Most were barren rocks or gas giants unsuitable for habitation, but every so often, explorers would stumble upon worlds teeming with life. The discovery of such planets had sparked fierce debates back on Earth and its colonies centuries ago. Should humanity interfere? Should these ecosystems be left untouched? In the end, pragmatism won out over idealism. If a planet lacked intelligent life, creatures capable of sentient thought, it was deemed fair game. That's where IDOS came in, the Exploration and Interstellar Development Operations Syndicate. IDOS was more than just a company. It was an empire within an empire. Founded during the early days of the Great Expansion, IDOS specialized in identifying habitable planets with non-intelligent life and transforming them into assets for humanity. Their teams scouted alien worlds, cataloged their flora and fauna, and established bases to extract resources or prepare them for colonization. But this wasn't some romanticized vision of exploration. It was dangerous work. Alien ecosystems were unpredictable at best and hostile at worst. Even without intelligent predators lurking in the shadows, there were countless ways to die on an alien world: poisonous atmospheres, aggressive wildlife, unforeseen geological activity. And then there were the psychological challenges: isolation, paranoia, the gnawing sense that you didn't belong in these strange environments. IDOS employees were well aware of the risks when they signed up. They were trained rigorously and equipped with cutting-edge technology: exosuits that could withstand extreme conditions, drones that mapped terrain in real time, weapons designed to neutralize any threat they might encounter. Yet for all their preparation, accidents happened frequently enough that some began to call IDOS missions suicide runs. The company didn't care about its reputation. It cared about results. Every successful mission brought back resources worth trillions, or opened up new opportunities for expansion. And so long as there were people desperate enough, or ambitious enough, to take on the job, IDOS would continue sending them out into the unknown. By 3024, IDOS had established outposts on hundreds of planets across dozens of star systems. Some were simple mining operations. Others were sprawling research facilities studying alien biology or testing new technologies. Most required regular maintenance to keep running smoothly, a task that fell to specialized teams known as rovers. These individuals were the backbone of IDOS operations. Engineers, scientists, soldiers rolled into one package. Rovers live hard lives. They spent months or even years hopping between planets, performing repairs or upgrades on remote outposts before returning home, if they returned at all. For many rovers, home wasn't Earth or Mars or any other colony. It was their ship, a cramped vessel that served as both transport and sanctuary during their journeys through hostile territory. Despite everything, the danger, the isolation, there was something undeniably thrilling about being a rover. They weren't just maintaining machines. They were pushing the boundaries of what humanity could achieve. Every base they repaired kept humanity's foothold in the galaxy secure. Every mission they completed brought humanity one step closer to mastering its domain. And then there was the hunt. It wasn't official policy, not something you'd find in an IDOS handbook, but it had become an unspoken tradition among rovers over the years, hunting alien creatures on newly discovered worlds during downtime between missions. For some rovers, it was a way to blow off steam. For others, it was about proving themselves against nature's deadliest creations. Of course, not everyone survived these hunts, but those who did came back with stories that would make even seasoned veterans shudder. Tales of beasts with razor-sharp claws that could tear through exosuits like paper. Plants that lured prey with hypnotic lights before devouring them whole. Swarms of insects capable of stripping flesh from bone in seconds. And yet, humans always found a way to win. That was what set humanity apart from every other creature in existence. Its ability to adapt, to learn from failure, and come back stronger than before. It didn't matter how many rovers died or how many bases fell into disrepair. IDOS would keep sending people out there because they knew one thing above all else. The galaxy belonged to humanity now, and nothing would stop them from claiming it all. The ship shuddered as it broke through the atmosphere of ZY-897, a planet that had earned an ominous reputation among the rovers. Officially, it was known as a Class 3 biohazard zone, but those who had been there simply called it the jungle. Dense, sprawling forests covered most of its surface, teeming with life forms that defied easy classification. The air was thick with humidity and the scent of alien flora, and somewhere in the distance, an unearthly howl echoed through the trees. The team aboard the ship was small but experienced. Led by Captain Lena Torres, a veteran rover with more missions under her belt than she cared to count. They were tasked with repairing a malfunctioning solar energy generator at one of IDOS's remote outposts. The generator was crucial. Without it, the base would be cut off from vital power supplies, rendering it vulnerable to both environmental hazards and the planet's native wildlife. As the ship settled onto a clearing near the outpost, Lena turned to her crew. "All right, you all know the drill," she said, her voice steady despite the tension in the air. "We get in, fix the generator, and get out. Keep your eyes open. This place isn't exactly friendly." Her team nodded in response. There was Jackson, a burly engineer with a knack for improvisation. May, a scientist whose curiosity often led her into trouble. And Raj, a former soldier who had seen more combat than he liked to admit. Together, they formed a well-oiled machine, each member bringing their own expertise to the table. The outpost itself was little more than a cluster of prefabricated buildings surrounded by a high fence. It had been abandoned after reports of increased predator activity. Specifically, sightings of creatures that resembled large felines, but moved with an intelligence that suggested something more sinister. These shadow cats, as they were called by those who had survived encounters with them, were masters of stealth and ambush. As the team disembarked and approached the outpost gate, Lena couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. The forest seemed alive with movement. Branches swayed without wind. Shadows danced across the ground. She motioned for Jackson to take point while May and Raj flanked her. Inside the compound, they found signs of hasty departure. Tools left scattered on workbenches, half-eaten meals still on tables. The generator itself was located in a small building at the center of the complex, a squat structure bristling with antennas and solar panels. "Jackson, you're up," Lena said as they reached the generator room. "May, keep an eye on those readings. Raj and I will secure the perimeter." Jackson nodded and set to work immediately. He popped open a panel on the generator's side and began inspecting its innards with practiced efficiency. May hovered nearby, monitoring data streams on her handheld device. Meanwhile, Lena and Raj circled the compound's edge, weapons at the ready. The jungle pressed in from all sides, a wall of green that seemed to pulse with life. Every rustle or chirp set their nerves on edge. "See anything?" Raj asked quietly as they paused near one corner of the fence. Nothing yet, Lena replied tersely. But I don't like how quiet it is. As if on cue, there was a sudden crash from within the forest, a sound like something large moving through underbrush at speed. Both rovers snapped into action instantly. Lena raised her rifle while Raj scanned their surroundings through his visor's infrared overlay. Movement! Raj hissed urgently. 2 o'clock. Lena swung around just in time to catch sight of something sleek and dark slipping between trees. A flash of fur followed by another crash deeper into cover. Shadow cats, she muttered under her breath before keying her comlink to reach Jackson inside. Heads up, we've got company. Back at the generator room, Jackson cursed softly, but didn't stop working. His hands moved faster now as he rerouted power lines and reset circuits according to May's instructions. We're almost there, May reported tensely over comms as she watched numbers stabilize on her screen. Outside again came another crash, closer this time, and then silence fell like a shroud over everything except for their own breathing. They're testing us, Raj observed grimly from beside Lena. Let them try, she replied fiercely before adding over comms. Jackson? Status? Just about done, came his reply amidst clattering metal sounds from within machinery guts. Then suddenly, there was movement everywhere at once. Shadows leaping from cover toward them, with terrifying speed. Raj fired first, a burst from his rifle lighting up night vision displays. But these creatures were fast beyond belief. Lena joined fire too, shots ringing out amid snarls. But even as bullets found targets some still close distance, alarmingly quick. Inside generator room alarms blared suddenly, May shouting something unintelligible amidst chaos outside. But then Jackson yelled triumphantly. Got it! Lights flickered back online throughout compound, just as last few shadow cats retreated into darkness beyond fence line. Wounded but not defeated entirely. Breathing heavily, now Lena regrouped team quickly, checking injuries while ensuring perimeter held firm against further attacks. For a moment all seemed calm again, but everyone knew this wasn't end yet. Not by long shot. They'd won battle perhaps, but war against ZY-897's wild heart raged ever onward, and humans weren't ones backing down anytime soon. The mission on ZY-897 had been a success, but there was little time for celebration. The team barely had a moment to catch their breath before new orders came through from IDOS headquarters. Their next destination was G2-AA1, a planet known less for its dangers and more for its peculiarities. The team gathered in the cramped confines of their ship's briefing room, the hum of the engines a constant reminder of their perpetual journey through the void. G2-AA1 was a stark contrast to the verdant chaos of ZY-897. It was a rocky world, dominated by vast deserts and towering mountain ranges. What made it unique and valuable was its mineral wealth. Beneath its barren surface lay deposits of rare elements critical for advanced technologies, the kind that powered humanity's ever-expanding reach across the stars. As Lena briefed her team on their new mission, she couldn't help but notice the weariness in their eyes. The encounter with the Shadow Cats had taken its toll, both physically and mentally. Yet there was also a steely determination that she had come to admire in them, a refusal to back down in the face of adversity. Our task is straightforward, she explained, pointing to a holographic map projected above the table. We need to set up an automated mining facility at Site Delta. Initial surveys indicate it's rich in titanium and other rare metals. Jackson perked up at this. Titanium? That's worth a fortune. Exactly, Lena nodded. But we're not here to get rich. Our job is to ensure everything runs smoothly, so IDOS can start extraction as soon as possible. May leaned forward, studying the topographical data. What about local wildlife? Any threats we should be aware of? Lena shook her head. Preliminary reports suggest minimal life forms, nothing like what we faced on ZY-897. But that doesn't mean we can let our guard down. Raj, ever pragmatic, chimed in. Deserts can be just as deadly as jungles if you're not careful. Heat stroke, dehydration, sandstorms. Exactly, Lena agreed. We'll need to monitor conditions closely and adjust our plans accordingly. With their briefing concluded, the team prepared for departure. The ship's AI plotted a course through hyperspace, and soon they were hurtling toward G2AA1 at speeds that defied comprehension. As they approached their destination, the planet loomed large on their view screens, a dusty orb bathed in the light of its distant sun. The landing was uneventful, a smooth descent onto a flat expanse near Site Delta. Once on the ground, the team quickly got to work unloading equipment and setting up camp. The air was dry and thin, carrying with it a faint metallic tang that spoke of the riches hidden beneath the surface. Jackson immediately set about assembling the mining rigs while May calibrated sensors to ensure optimal operation. Raj took point on security, scanning for any signs of trouble while Lena coordinated efforts from a central command tent. Despite its barren appearance, G2AA1 held its own challenges. The heat was oppressive during daylight hours, forcing them to work primarily at night when temperatures dropped to more manageable levels. Sandstorms swept across the landscape with little warning, threatening to bury equipment under shifting dunes. Yet for all these obstacles, there was an undeniable allure to this place, a sense of discovery that drove them onward despite fatigue and discomfort. As days turned into weeks, progress was steady if slow. The automated systems began extracting precious minerals from beneath desert sands, each shipment sent back to Eidos marking another step forward in humanity's relentless march across galaxy. But even as they celebrated small victories a long way, each successful operation bringing them closer together as team, there remained an unspoken understanding among them. This was only beginning, for out there among stars lay countless other worlds waiting exploration, each one holding secrets yet untold, each one posing challenges yet unmet. And so long as Eidos needed rovers willing, brave, unknown, Lena and her crew would be ready to answer call, no matter where it might lead next. As the mining operations on G2AA1 continued, the team fell into a rhythm. The desert world, with its stark beauty and hidden wealth, became their temporary home. Each day brought new challenges, unexpected equipment failures, sandstorms that seemed to rise out of nowhere, and the relentless heat that sapped their energy. Yet, they persevered, driven by the knowledge that their work was vital to humanity's expansion. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and temperatures began to cool, Lena gathered her team around the campfire. The flames flickered against the darkening sky, casting long shadows across the sand. "How's everyone holding up?" Lena asked, breaking the comfortable silence that had settled over them. Jackson shrugged, poking at the fire with a stick. "Could be worse. At least we're not dodging claws and teeth this time." May chuckled softly. "True, though I have to admit, I miss the excitement of ZY-897. Just a little." Raj grinned. "You call that excitement? I'd rather deal with sand any day." Lena smiled at their banter, but knew there was an underlying truth to May's words. For all its dangers, there was something exhilarating about facing the unknown, a thrill that came from pushing boundaries and overcoming obstacles. Their conversation was interrupted by a soft beep from Lena's communicator. She glanced at it and frowned slightly before addressing the group. "Looks like we've got new orders from HQ," she announced. "They want us to check out some unusual readings near one of the mountain ranges east of here." May perked up at this. "Unusual how?" "Not sure," Lena admitted. "Could be geological activity, or maybe something else entirely. They didn't give specifics." Jackson groaned theatrically. "Great. More mysteries." Raj stood up, stretching his arms above his head. "When do we head out?" "First light," Lena replied decisively. "We'll take one of the rovers and scout the area. Shouldn't take more than a day or two if everything goes smoothly." With their plans set, the team dispersed to prepare for the journey ahead. As they packed supplies and checked equipment, Lena couldn't shake a sense of anticipation mixed with unease. The readings might be nothing, or they could herald another unexpected challenge. The following morning, they set off across the desert in a rugged all-terrain vehicle designed for just such expeditions. The landscape unfolded before them in endless waves of sand punctuated by jagged rocks and distant mountains. As they approached their destination, May monitored sensors for any anomalies while Jackson navigated through treacherous terrain with practiced ease. "Anything yet?" Raj asked from his position in the back seat. May shook her head, eyes fixed on her display screen. "Nothing conclusive, But there's definitely something odd about these readings. Lena leaned forward from her seat beside Jackson, peering through binoculars at the looming mountains ahead. They were unlike anything she'd seen on Earth, towering spires of stone that seemed to pierce sky itself. Finally reaching base of mountains late afternoon after hours driving under relentless sun, team disembarked rover eager stretched legs amidst cooler air found higher elevations. Setting up temporary camp near entrance narrow canyon leading deeper into range. They took moment to appreciate stark beauty surrounding them. But even as they marveled at alien landscape, there remained unspoken tension among them. For somewhere within those ancient peaks lay answers sought by Eidos, and perhaps even more questions waiting discovery. And so once again Lena led her team into unknown, hearts pounding with anticipation and resolve. For this was what it meant to be rover, exploring frontiers others feared tread, seeking out secrets the universe held close, and proving time again why humanity deserved place among stars. The return journey from G2AA1 was uneventful, a smooth ride through hyperspace that allowed the team to reflect on their recent missions. Both ZY-897 and G2AA1 had tested their skills and resolve, but they had emerged victorious, each success further cementing their reputation within Eidos. As their ship hurtled back toward the central base, a massive orbital station known as Nexus Prime, they couldn't help but feel a sense of accomplishment. Nexus Prime was a marvel of human engineering, a sprawling complex that served as the nerve center for Eidos operations across the galaxy. It was here that decisions were made, resources allocated, and new missions planned. As their ship docked with the station, Lena and her team were greeted by the familiar hustle and bustle of life aboard the station. Technicians scurried about, pilots prepared for launch, and scientists debated over data from distant worlds. After debriefing with command, a process that involved recounting their encounters with shadow cats and detailing the successful establishment of the mining facility, the team was granted a rare moment of respite. They wandered through the station's corridors, taking in the sights and sounds of this vibrant hub of activity. Their downtime was short-lived, however. Within hours, they received a summons to meet with Director Kane, the head of Eidos operations. The director's office was located in one of the station's upper levels, offering a panoramic view of the stars beyond. As they entered, Director Kane rose to greet them, a tall figure with an air of authority tempered by years of experience in the field. His gaze was sharp but not unkind as he regarded the team. "Captain Torres," he began, nodding to Lena before acknowledging each member in turn. "Jackson Mayraj, welcome back." "Thank you, sir," Lena replied respectfully. "We're glad to be back." Kane gestured for them to sit before continuing. "Your performance on ZY-897 and G2AA1 has been exemplary. You've not only completed your objectives, but done so under conditions that would have overwhelmed lesser teams." Jackson couldn't resist a grin at this praise while May and Raj exchanged pleased glances. "Because of your success," Kane continued, "Eidos is offering you an opportunity to take on more advanced missions. Explorations into deeper space where few have ventured before." Lena's interest peaked at this. "What kind of missions?" "Explorations beyond our current frontier," Kane explained. "Planets even more distant than those you've encountered. Worlds that hold untapped potential for humanity's future." The prospect was exhilarating yet daunting. These new missions would push them into uncharted territories far from any established support networks. But it also meant being at the forefront of discovery, pioneers charting paths through unknown stars. "In recognition of your achievements," Kane added with a smile, "you're also being awarded new patents, upgrades to your equipment and ship that will enhance your capabilities out there." Raj raised an eyebrow appreciatively while Jackson let out a low whistle. May simply nodded thoughtfully as she considered possibilities these advancements might unlock. With formalities concluded, Director Kane dismissed them with final words of encouragement. "Prepare yourselves well. You'll need every advantage we can provide as you venture into these new realms." Leaving Director's office buoyed by both recognition received and promise future held, team made way back towards quarters eager to discuss implications awaiting them. For now, they were no longer just rovers. They were pathfinders tasked leading humanity into next great era exploration. And though challenges ahead would undoubtedly be greater than any faced thus far, They knew deep down this was exactly what they'd signed up for. To boldly go where no one had gone before. To claim stars themselves as rightful domain. And prove once again why humans deserve place among galaxy's brightest lights. The journey to the new solar system was long, even by the standards of hyperspace travel. The team's ship, now upgraded with the latest IDOS technology, hummed with quiet efficiency as it cut through the void. This was uncharted territory. No probes had been sent ahead, no preliminary scans conducted. They were the first humans to set eyes on this system, the first to step onto its worlds. It was a heady feeling, one that filled the crew with equal parts excitement and trepidation. The system star was a pale yellow dwarf, smaller and cooler than Sol. Its light bathed the surrounding planets in a soft, golden glow that seemed almost serene. As they approached the third planet in orbit, a small, rocky world with an atmosphere rich in nitrogen and oxygen, May's sensors lit up with activity. "This one's alive," she said, her voice tinged with awe as she analyzed the data streaming across her console. "Not just habitable, thriving." Lena leaned over her shoulder to study the readings. The planet's surface was dotted with strange, iridescent patches visible even from orbit. "What are those?" she asked. "Hard to say," May replied. "Could be vegetation, could be something else entirely. We'll have to get down there to know for sure." Jackson grinned from his station at the helm. "Well then, let's not keep it waiting." As their ship descended through the atmosphere, they were greeted by a landscape unlike anything they had ever seen. The ground was covered in a shimmering carpet of crystalline growths that refracted sunlight into dazzling rainbows. Towering spires of translucent rock jutted skyward like frozen geysers, their surfaces etched with intricate patterns that looked almost deliberate. The air was cool and crisp, carrying a faint metallic tang that reminded them of G2 AA1, but softer, less oppressive. Small creatures flitted between the crystalline formations, delicate things with wings like spun glass that caught the light as they moved. "This place is incredible," May breathed as they stepped out of their ship and onto the alien soil. "It's like walking through a dream," Raj agreed, his normally stoic demeanor giving way to genuine wonder. They decided to name it Arumis, after the golden hue of its star and the otherworldly beauty of its surface. It was a fitting name for such an extraordinary place, a world that seemed almost too perfect to be real. The team spent most of the day exploring their surroundings and collecting samples. May was particularly fascinated by the crystalline growths, which seemed to pulse faintly when touched as if responding to their presence. Jackson busied himself, setting up equipment, while Raj kept watch for any signs of danger. By late afternoon, they had established a small base camp near one of the larger spires. The sun hung low on the horizon now, casting long shadows across the alien landscape. "Let's call it a day," Lena suggested as she checked her chronometer. "We'll get some rest and continue in the morning." As night fell over Arumis, something changed. The crystalline formations that had seemed so benign during daylight hours began to emit a faint glow, a soft blue light that illuminated the darkness in eerie patterns. At first, it was beautiful, a continuation of the planet's daytime splendor. But then came the sounds. Low vibrations at first, barely perceptible, a hum that seemed to rise from deep beneath their feet. It grew steadily louder until it became a rhythmic thrum that resonated through their bones. "What is that?" Jackson asked nervously as he scanned their surroundings. Before anyone could answer, there was movement at the edge of camp, shadows shifting against the blue glow of the crystals. Something emerged from beneath one of the formations, a long-limbed creature with skin like polished obsidian and eyes that glowed faintly in the dark. More followed, dozens of them crawling out from beneath the ground like insects emerging from a hive. They moved with an unnatural grace, their limbs bending at odd angles as they advanced toward the camp. "Everyone inside," Lena barked as she raised her weapon and fired a warning shot into the air. The creatures hesitated for only a moment before continuing their approach undeterred. Lena cursed under her breath as she opened fire again, this time aiming directly at one of them. The impact sent it sprawling backward, but didn't stop its companions from surging forward en masse. "Fall back!" Raj shouted as he covered their retreat into the ship. Once inside, Jackson sealed the hatch while May frantically worked to activate defensive systems. Outside, the creatures swarmed over their equipment and supplies like ants dismantling prey piece by piece. "What are they doing?" May asked in disbelief as she watched through one of the ship's external cameras. "Doesn't matter," Lena replied grimly as she checked her weapon's charge levels. "We're not sticking around to find out." With no other options left to them, and no desire to test whether these creatures could breach their hull, they powered up their engines and lifted off into Arumi's night sky. But even as they left those strange beings behind, questions lingered heavy minds. What were those creatures? What drove them emerge only under cover darkness? And most importantly, what secrets did Arumi's still hold within its crystalline heart? For now, though, survival came first, and tomorrow would bring yet another challenge among stars. As the ship ascended through the atmosphere of Arumi's, the team gathered in the control room, their minds racing to understand the strange events they had just witnessed. The creatures that emerged at night were unlike anything they had encountered before, intelligent, organized, and seemingly drawn to their presence. "Whatever those things are, they don't like the light," May observed, replaying footage of their retreat. "They only came out after sunset." Lena nodded, considering this. "That's our advantage. If we can figure out a way to keep them at bay with light, we might be able to continue our mission." Back in orbit, they began brainstorming solutions. Jackson suggested using portable floodlights to create a perimeter around their camp. May proposed modifying their equipment to emit higher intensity light frequencies that could potentially deter the creatures. Raj, ever practical, focused on fortifying their defenses with whatever resources they had on board. As they worked through the night, the ship's lab became a hive of activity. Tools clattering, screens flickering with data, and minds racing against time. By morning, they had a plan. Armed with modified lights and fortified defenses, they descended once more to Arumi's surface. This time, they landed in a different area, a broad plateau surrounded by towering crystal formations that would provide natural barriers against any nighttime incursions. As the sun began to set again, they activated their new lighting system. Banks of powerful floodlights bathed the camp in harsh white light, casting long shadows across the alien landscape. The team watched anxiously as darkness crept in around them. For hours, nothing happened. The lights hummed steadily as they cut through the night, creating an oasis of brightness amidst the encroaching gloom. But just as they began to relax, the familiar vibration started up again, a low hum rising from beneath their feet. "Here we go," Lena muttered under her breath as she checked her weapon one last time. The creatures emerged once more from beneath the crystalline ground, dozens of them creeping toward the camp's edge. But this time was different. As soon as they crossed into the light's reach, they recoiled violently, hissing and retreating back into shadow. "It's working," May exclaimed triumphantly as she watched through one of their cameras. The creatures circled warily outside the perimeter, but made no further attempts to breach it. Instead, they seemed content to wait just beyond reach, watching with those unsettling eyes that glowed faintly in darkness. For hours this standoff continued until finally dawn broke over horizon, and with first-ray sunlight, creatures vanished back into depths from which they'd come. With daylight on their side once more, team resumed exploration efforts undeterred. They collected samples from crystalline formations, cataloged local fauna, and mapped out potential sites for future research. And though mysteries surrounding nocturnal inhabitants remained unsolved, they knew they'd found a way to coexist, at least for now. In honor of these strange beings and unique nature planet itself, they decided to rename it Noctilucent, after its luminous nights and secretive denizens. As ship lifted off one final time, leaving behind glittering world below, Lena couldn't help but feel sense satisfaction. They'd faced unknown head-on, adapted quickly when challenged, and ultimately triumphed using ingenuity and resourcefulness that defined humanity itself. For this was what it meant to be explorer among stars, overcoming obstacles through sheer force will, finding beauty even where danger lurked close by, and proving once again why humans deserve place among galaxy's brightest lights. And though many more worlds awaited discovery beyond Noctilucent's shimmering skies, Lena knew deep down they'd always carry peace, this extraordinary place within hearts wherever journey might lead next.